Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Secular Ultra Quran. And if you don't like and subscribe, Ruben will punch you.
Why is that
I'm
happening
not
again?
going to punch you, but Lawrence might.
I would never do such a thing. That would be wrong.
I don't believe Lawrence when he says he would never do such a thing.
Guys,
think Lawrence would do such a thing.
Like and subscribe. We're all pacifists here, and if you don't subscribe, we'll pacify you. All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
So,
We're continuing the Quran today.
speaking of passing the fist,
Wow.
we're reading the Quran. I've got the study Quran. I've got the Quran Project Quran. I've got the Penguin Classics Quran. We've also got a thematic commentary on the Quran.
And we have translations from Abdullah Yusuf Ali, Maulana Muhammad Ali, and the Quran and the Bible from Gabriel Said Reynolds.
Yeah. And today, well,
today I did something I usually never do.
What?
If you take a look at the background real quick,
Nah.
so you know how difficult it is to find any image related to like the Quran or like Arabic history, right? It makes sense because that's like their whole thing, right? Don't create images of this stuff.
you're not allowed.
Right, exactly. So I used AI. I never use AI.
Look how bad it is.
It's supposed to, if you look at the faces,
Guys,
it actually
I've
gets
never
even
done
worse.
this before. No, I have, but I'm gonna disable the video capture device for just a second.
Right, for the to see it. So the faces are really bad. Like that is like to me the biggest giveaway that it's AI. But I know Dishonor. I know I used AI. I don't like doing it, but
yeah,
it
you
is
should have hired a real artist to produce.
for
We
one
talked about
for
this.
one background. Yeah, for one background, I'm not gonna do it. If it's for like I always hire artists for T-shirts, right? I would like if I was
You
doing.
saw my business card, right?
Does it say artist on it?
Oh yeah, with like 5 air quotes around it.
Okay. So yeah, that's very obviously an AI image, but
Congratulations.
Very obvious.
the thing, dude, it's really hard finding images of anything that's related to this.
And this is your
I
only
try to be-
source
I
for
try to be-
this image.
Generic about it. Like like when I look for backgrounds, I try to be as generic as possible. And no, there's nothing coming up today. So
Wow. How generic.
all right.
Was AI used for the golden calf?
What? I don't think we did any.
No. Well, the thing is, for the
There was
golden
a
calf
part
scenes-
long ago that I used to make a sun with AI, just like in orbit for like Kohelet or no, not Kohelet. It's an Apocrypha. It's the thing I like from Apocrypha. I forgot.
Oh, I remember what you're talking about
Enoch.
now. I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to Enoch. We did use AI for Enoch in the very distant past.
I think that was you made like something pretty short for it though, or was it an image? Was it a
Just
background?
an image, yeah.
Was it okay?
You didn't do it though.
No, but the golden calf thing. If we're talking about the images that I have used for the golden calf,
I think so.
either for the episodes or for the video I made on it, I think that like even if they were AI images, I was not the one who put in the prompt, at least.
Dun dun dun. You
Yeah, I
don't
know. For this one, this one is my own doing, and I hate saying that like, oh, I made this because I didn't do anything. It's AI. So
No, you made this.
I didn't. I put in a prompt and then it popped out.
Like I picked up a paintbrush and it popped out.
Yeah, it almost,
Yeah.
but it didn't do
I
anything.
used this Etch a Sketch and
Sure, yeah.
sorry.
Cause it to be generated. Sure, we'll go with that.
You are its parent more than its artistic creator.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Because I did not do anything artistic. So
No.
either way, I don't know why we spent so much fucking time on that. But let's continue reading, shall we? We're starting at verse 70 today.
Yes, verse 70. And hey, Hey, if you're watching the stream, share it around, share it with your friends, share it with
Family,
your family.
convicts, do that.
Don't share it with people who you don't want to see it.
Which is
nobody.
One. Yeah. So
Yeah. Share it with everyone. Okay. Verse 70. Has not the account come to them of those that were before them, the people of Noah, Ad and Thamud, and the people of Abraham, the inhabitants of Midian, and the overthrown cities? Their messengers brought them clear proofs. God wronged them not, but themselves did they wrong.
yeah, I think we did cover Ad and Thamud recently, right? I don't remember much about it though, about them. So were these these would have been separate peoples, right? And let's see, in this verse, the Quran alludes to God's destruction of those peoples who rejected his messengers, and thereby gives its audience a good reason not to reject the latest messenger. The list of peoples who have been destroyed concludes with a reference to, to Al-Mutafikat. I'm mispronouncing that. I'm definitely mispronouncing that. I'm definitely butchering that.
Well done.
And apparently that means towns that were overturned. This Arabic term is likely related. I'm not going to go into the etymology of it. But he goes on to say that this is, in other words, likely a reference to the people of Lot. The reference to the people of Abraham in this verse is curious in as much as the Quran never mentions the punishment or destruction of his people. The Quran may be referring to a tradition found in the Christian text, the Apocalypse of Abraham. Now, we did go over the Apocalypse of Abraham.
Yes, we did.
That was the one where I think the Apocalypse of Abraham was the one with 10 heavens, right? Is that the one where he goes up?
It is. It's the one that he goes up and he kind of goes on bird roller skates, and there's Azazel in it. Azazel plays a big part. But I want to note here that the Ad were the people to whom the pre-Islamic Arabian prophet Hud was sent, while the Thamud were the people to whom God sent the prophet Salih. So,
oh, yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, these would be references to these specific groups.
So these are groups that have their own prophets. So he's saying, how about you listen to these guys instead of ignoring me like all the other times?
Sorry, what?
What?
Fuck.
But the believing men and believing women are protectors of one another, enjoining right and forbidding wrong, performing the prayer, giving the alms, and obeying God and his messenger. They are those upon whom God will have mercy. Truly God is mighty, wise. Okay, pretty straightforward. God has promised the believing men and believing women gardens with rivers running below to abide therein, and goodly dwellings in the gardens of Eden. But contentment,
the gardens of Eden.
Yes, but contentment from God is greater. That is the great triumph.
Yeah, there's some different translations here. So Gabriel Said Reynolds does say good dwelling in the gardens of Eden, while Maulana Muhammad Ali says the gardens of perpetual abode.
It says here that these gardens of Eden, these are understood by commentators to refer to an especially exalted or blessed place in the garden, variously described as the center of the garden, the highest level of the garden, a city whose palace is the divine throne, a palace of gold in which only the prophets, martyrs, and just rulers reside.
Yeah, so this kind of folds into quite a few things. A lot of stuff that we've talked about on the show already, right? So when they're talking about heaven, they usually describe it as like this garden, right? And it has been when they talk about heaven as a place or as like a garden, there have been I think we've actually talked about it on this show where there was this idea that it would have been like a physical place on a mountain, right? Mm-hmm. And that would have been like, that would be heaven. So when they're talking about the Gardens of Eden, they're talking about a physical place on earth that would become heaven.
But this says outright, contentment from God is greater. That is the great triumph. It places the spiritual reward of the garden above its bodily dimension because the life of the spirit is greater than the life of the body, and striving to please God is superior to striving for reward from him, since all strive in some way for what benefits them.
Sure, and I think that this also, when it talks about where like the rivers flow and stuff, that's also another common description. Like we get the thing in Genesis, right, that there's the rivers coming out of it, and in a lot of texts from antiquity, a paradise like that often has rivers running through it. Mm-hmm. So it just goes along with that same imagery.
Lawrence does one of these alongside Aaron, Ra, Tomer, Lilith. It's not one of these.
This is a far superior.
This is
show.
A far superior show. What Lawrence does with them is a ripoff of what we already did with Atheist Sunday School.
Right, yeah. We're the OGs.
And all of the big important points that he brings up in that show, we definitely already covered. Yep. Except I think everything that you've covered so far on that show has been stuff where we didn't have any commentaries.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to Psalms yet, which is I think around the time we started. Was that around the time we started using bigger commentaries?
Yeah,
or I think we had like a couple books, right?
Well, we started the Apocryphal podcast around that time because we wanted to have something other than songs of praise for months.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, that's when we brought in, I think it was, we were using Robert Alter's version of the Bible, which helped. But I think there were some additional commentaries
we did
as
have
well.
Altars, yeah. Altars was the may have been, was that the first, like, any kind of commentary that we used? Surely it
we had Eerdmans.
Yes, Eerdmans. Well. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which I think we got around the same time.
Right. Yeah, that would make sense. But either way, yeah. So we had Eerdmans, and I remember I would come in here early into the studio to read Eerdmans, like the sections that we were going over, just to have like something prepared. But yeah, now I've been working on a translation and commentary of Matthew. I was going to do it on the whole New Testament, but obviously I'm going to start with Matthew, and we'll see where that goes. But I'm currently on chapter 13. Going to work on it more tonight, obviously. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I finish chapter 13 tonight. But the parables, by the way, I got to tell you this. In Greek, the parables are like really fucking hard to read. Because there is a whole bunch of things. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to assume. The grammar is kind of wonky, and I'm not entirely sure why. I have to check the commentaries. But I'm excited to actually be getting that done now because I've been wanting to do that for a while, but I really couldn't because I was in school.
Sometimes grammar will be modified in order to fit a poetic form.
Right, yeah. So it might have something to do with trying to fit.
But I also don't recall a lot of Matthew being like poetic.
It's not.
material.
Yeah, so right. It might be based on like a different way of telling stories, right? So that's something I'm going to look further into. Mm-hmm. But yeah, either way, we should continue with the reading though.
Yeah. What is this stream about?
Well, it's about secular, ultra, and the Quran.
Oh boy, that gave them so much information.
We just secular readings of the
UFC
Quran.
50 was a good UFC.
I'm glad you know. I'm glad you know that.
Yeah. No, I mean, all the ones pre like 70. There was a point when Hoist Gracie came out of retirement and tried to fight. Oh, I forget exactly who.
All
it
right,
was.
but whatever you say, whatever a sports ball. Okay.
And there's
Get
no
'em.
ball. Sometimes people get kicked in the balls. Anyways.
I believe we're on 73.
Oh, prophet, strive against the disbelievers and the hypocrites and be harsh with them. Their refuge is hell. What an evil journey's end. They swear by God that they said it not, but indeed they spoke the word of disbelief and disbelieved after having submitted to God. And they had ambitions that they did not achieve, and they were vengeful only because God and his messenger enriched them from his bounty. If they repent, it would be better for them, but if they turn away, God will punish them with a painful punishment in this world and in the hereafter. And on earth they shall have neither protector nor helper.
Interesting. Okay, so this is now remember, when it comes to non-believers, we've had a couple differing, not exactly differing opinions, but a couple different ways to deal with them. Like in this one, this is like people who I guess you could put them in the. Would you put this in the fool category? Right?
No, I think that this is specifically referring to apostates. People who believed in message.
It says the faithless and the hypocrites, right?
But then it goes on in verse 74. I think in verse 73 it could be, but if we expound
and then it says they
that,
uttered they say that they did not say it, but they certainly did utter the word of unfaith.
And disbelieved after having submitted to God. So that implies to me that we are talking about apostates who are denying their apostasy. That is what makes them hypocrites.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and remember, we did have a section where it was, they said if you leave Islam once, it's fine. You can come back and you're okay.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's not like ideal, but
right. Obviously, it's not ideal. But like the point is, like you're not going to suffer some grievous
not a death
penalty.
sentence.
Right. Yeah. And then in the other case, in which you leave the second time, I think in one section it says it's a death sentence, and the other one says like exile. Right. Or those are the two options, I think?
No, I think that it is a death sentence in every case, but I think that there is a part that applies a death sentence after a single instance of apostasy, which is...
I don't remember that part, did we?
I think that is implied at one point. But remember that we're working with a system of abrogation, so I don't know if that's actually something that's in place at all.
So either way, this section at least, these are people who don't who obviously are apostates but claim they're not apostates. That makes sense
because they don't want to suffer.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, so this is like people who have bad reasons for believing.
And among them are those who made a pact with God, saying, if he gives unto us from his bounty, we will surely spend in charity, and we will surely be among the righteous. But when he gave unto them from his bounty, they were miserly with it, and turned away in rejection.
Ruben, don't. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Just because I think it's crazy, but do not read this out loud. Is that fucking nuts?
That is a word in the English language that we're not going to say on YouTube.
That's fucking crazy.
Because it's
You'll have to show me
deceptively
later,
close
Nana.
to a racial slur.
That's
It's
bad,
not a racial slur,
but
it
it's
is
close.
Probably etymologically related.
Yeah. So we are okay. So we do have a few translations here. We have Maulana Muhammad Ali's, Abdullah Yusuf Ali's, Gabriel Said Reynolds. What are the other translations?
The Quran Project and the Study Quran.
Yeah, there you go.
And we have the Penguin Classics Quran.
Just in
haven't
case.
really used it, but
Yeah.
it's just in case. Yeah. Anyways, let me go on here. As with other descriptions of the hypocrites in this surah, these verses are understood in a general sense, but some commentators also connect them with a certain Thalaba ibn Hatib, who insisted that he would give charity if he had the means to do so. The Prophet gave him some wealth from the spoils of war. He prospered, his wealth grew until he eventually left Medina and settled in a nearby valley. He then began to attend only some of the prayers in congregation.
So he was half-assing it.
Yep. And then only the Friday prayer. Those once a week
He was giving all that money and he's doing, he's sitting on his thumbs.
And finally he stopped attending altogether, all while growing wealthier. While the giving of alms was instituted, functionaries were also sent to collect it from him. He refused on the grounds that it was not charity and that it was nothing but a kind of indemnity, a jizya. He refused again and again. Finally, he met the Prophet, who said to him, "Woe unto you, Thalaba."
Whoa.
All right. That's a nice little story.
Yep, nice little story. That's a cool thing about these Islamic commentaries.
Is that they include like a whole bunch of like
fan fiction. Yeah, it's like the extended canon is all there.
Yeah, the extended canon is a good way to put it, right? Because you have the like when we were going over biblical stuff, we would sometimes get that in commentaries.
Very rarely would we get references to things, and oftentimes it would be spurious, like references to First Enoch when we're covering Proverbs, and that. I mean,
yeah, like sure, like yeah, really. You can say like yes, this idea would eventually like culminate in this, but at the same time, it's not as like clearly linked as stuff like this.
Well, they tried to.
They give like background. They're like essentially giving you the prequel.
Yeah, this is much more in depth, but also it's a lot more flowery. I mean, at least with the references to First Enoch, there's like the fact that they are referring to an extant material that you can reference independently.
It's also true, yeah.
But here, like, I assume that, like, they have RT as sources, so
I'm not entirely.
They must be written down somewhere, but I don't know exactly what they're referring to.
I also don't know exactly what those are, but we have seen them.
Do you have those references in your commentaries?
Or
does it just give you wild stories?
No, there are the references in there.
Yeah.
But I should probably look for one of those.
It's probably mostly a consequence of our familiarity with biblical materials over Quranic materials. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of the stuff that is referenced in here isn't stuff that we would typically look for, because we would typically look for like historically critical commentaries or like textually critical commentaries or something like that, but there really isn't that much for the Quran.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there are a few I could swear this guy does use. He says, I don't use that many abbreviations, but here they are. And I'm like, I'm not looking for like abbreviations. Like he's citing like actual texts, and I am not entirely sure what those are all the time. So kind of a bummer, but I'm gonna have to look through some of this just to at least get a better idea of what exactly they're referencing. Because, like, I'm not sure if, like, I'm never sure if it's, like, hadith or if it's, like, something else, right? So, but either way. I think. Did you?
I'll continue.
Yeah.
So, he requited them with hypocrisy in their hearts till the day they will meet him for having failed in that which they promised him and for having lied. Know they not that God knows their secret and their private discourse, and that God is knower of things unseen?
No.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't really have that much on here, but this seems very much like the. We've had language like this throughout, especially Christian texts, right? Like maybe it's only because I've been translating Matthew recently, but it's very much like he is the one that sees all the stuff that happens in secret.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also something you would see, like here. Know they not that God knows their secret and their private discourse?
Right,
and
yeah.
that God is knower of all things unseen. It's kind of like a gnosis motif.
It is, yeah. But the...
it's also something you would see in Psalms.
Yeah.
That God knows what's in your heart before you're in the womb is, I think, something that shows up in Psalms at one point.
At one point, yeah.
Although,
yeah, I think they're
found any contradictions. Well,
there was.
Here's the thing, UFC 50. There are numerous contradictions in the Quran, but they are not like presented as contradictions. They are presented as abrogated sayings, conclusions that were later corrected. They don't admit to them being contradictory. They just say that later on the position was more expounded upon. But there are at least dozens of them in the Quran. I think
there's something on Surah 3 verse 143. And I forget what verse they compare. I'd have to recheck the commentaries, but I forget what verse they compare that to. There was, what else is there? Like I'm just checking my notes where I just write down interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them aren't like contradictions. I'm not like explicitly looking for contradictions, but there are just things that are kind of neat. If there are, of course, differences once we, if we take into account like some other stories, right? Like, it's not like internal, right? It would be still external. But if we compare like the, hold on. Yeah. Apparently there is, we haven't gotten to this yet, but apparently there is a contradiction in the Adam story of Surah 7 and the one in Surah 20. We haven't gotten to Surah 20 yet though. But that's at least according to the commentators.
Also, it might be changed later, but Noah's story was presented as a local flood, which may or may not be changed in future Noah accounts.
I guess we'll see. I know that he's going to pop up a few more times. So.
It will. Let me continue on here. As for they who reproach those believers who give freely and those who have not, but their keep to give and ridicule them, God ridicules them, and theirs shall be a painful punishment. Seek forgiveness for them, or seek not forgiveness for them.
Oh,
that's really helpful. If thou seekest forgiveness for them 70 times, God will not forgive them. That's because they disbelieve in God and his messenger. And God guides not iniquitous people.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we ran into this idea, I think, in 1st or 2nd Baruch, where you can't pray for someone who has died in order to absolve them of their sins.
Okay, sure, yeah.
To judgment.
Oh, it's funny that you say that. We're actually going to get to something that's kind of interesting. That's a lot like that later. Mm-hmm. But either way, so the Quran here seems to transform the message of forgiveness in Matthew 18, 21 through 22. Then Peter went up to him and said, "Lord, how often must I forgive my brother if he wrongs me? As often as 70 times?" Jesus answered, "Not 7, I tell you, but 77." Whereas Jesus teaches Peter that one is to forgive without limit, using 77 as a symbolic number. The Quran teaches the prophet that God will never forgive unbelievers, no matter how many times we were to ask for their forgiveness.
Yeah.
But still using 70 as a symbolic number.
Well, those aren't necessarily contradictory things. It can still be required of you to infinitely seek forgiveness, even though it's a Sisyphean task.
Sure,
you'll never be successful. And then one must imagine you happy, I guess.
Very happy. So happy.
Yeah. Sisyphus is a happy guy.
Oh, there is another story here, though.
Oh.
Yeah. It looks like, let's see. Where does it start? Spiritual relations with the hypocrites were henceforth cut off. The mention of 70 may not indicate the specific number here. Yeah, sure. But for this use of the word, see 229. It, however, appears that the Holy Prophet took it literally at the burial service of Abd Allah ibn Ubay. I'm butchering that. Abd Allah ibn Ubay, the recognized leader of the hypocrites. When Abd Allah ibn Ubay died, the Holy Prophet was asked to conduct the burial service. The Holy Prophet got up, but Umar took hold of his garment and objected on the ground that Abd Allah was a hypocrite and referred to his. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I just like remembered something that I read in one of the books that I was recently reading about the Quran, but I'll get back to that. I know, right? By the way, he was a terrible hypocrite. Umar took hold of his garment and objected on the ground that Abd Allah was a hypocrite and referred to his hostile attitude throughout his life. The Holy Prophet replied that Allah had given him a choice and that he would ask forgiveness for him for over 70 times, if only by his doing so forgiveness could be extended to the dead man. Then he offered prayers to him. And then we're going to get more into that on verse 48.
Okay, what is the thing that you were reminded of? Don't just leave us hanging.
The thing I was reminded of was that I think, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on this. I think that was the name of the guy who was a very early, I guess you could call him, maybe they just took the name from him, from the story. But there was this guy who was a very early heretic, you could say. He had every single surah that, the more mainstream Muslims at the time did, except for the last 2, I think. And I think he was one of the ones that had, which 2 surahs were supposed to go together, potentially? Was it this one? Was this part of it? Was this one in the previous one?
I think it's this in the previous one.
Yeah. So he might have had those together. I entirely forget what the guy's name is, but I think it's this name. But he was like, thought to be like this awful fucking person for that, right?
Oh, no.
For having like a slightly different canon. But this was like very early on that we're talking about. He like rejected like the mainstream canon, you could call it.
Wow.
What if he was correct?
Yeah, what if? Yeah.
First rebel.
So I forget his name, but I feel like it was this name or a name very similar to it. But either way.
All right, let's continue on. Those who were left behind exulted in staying back, opposing the messenger of God, and were averse to striving with their wealth and with their selves in the way of God. And they said, "Go forth not in the heat." Say, "The fire of hell is of a heat more intense," if they but understood. So let them laugh a little and weep much as a recompense for that which they used to earn.
Yeah, this is very much like, yeah, sure, let them have their fun now because they're going to burn later.
Ooh, yeah. And if God returns thee to a group of them, and they seek leave of thee to go forth, say, you shall not go forth with me ever, nor shall you fight with me against my enemy. You were content to stay back the first time, so stay back with those who remain behind.
Right, yeah, he's still harping on those guys that were, cowards.
Yeah.
He's all like, you were fine, leaving me behind. So, or like letting me.
He's very judgmental to people who do not want to directly get involved with violence.
Hey, the thing is, he's like, you should have had my back, but you didn't. This is a guy who takes loyalty very seriously. Mm-hmm. I could tell you that much.
Yeah.
We don't know anyone like that.
Hold on.
And no one else like that existed.
Okay. Here we have some very explicit instructions in this verse. Okay. And never pray over one of them who dies.
Oh, right, yeah.
Nor stand by his grave. Truly, they disbelieved in God and his messenger and died iniquitous.
Yeah.
And let not their wealth or their children impress thee. God desires only to punish them thereby in this world, and that their souls should depart while they are disbelievers.
Yeah, so this is the one where, like, these verses here are the ones where it's like you're not supposed to pray at the graves of the non-believers. That's what this AI image is supposed to
Ever.
be. Yeah.
Never do it.
This one's pretty explicit, right? And hold on, let me flip the page here. Yeah, so when it says there, nor stand at his grave. On the death of a Muslim, it is the pious duty of every neighboring Muslim who can to assist in the simplest in the simple funeral ceremonies. The prayer for mercy before the body is consigned to the grave, and the consignment of the body to the grave by a simple, solemn, and dignified ritual in which the near relatives or friends help with the bier while the rest stand by the graveside. For those who have shown hostility to Islam, this would not be seemly and is forbidden.
Now, the prayer here refers to the funeral rites, which consist of a modified form of the canonical prayer, in which one stands for 2 units of prayer, but does not bow or prostrate in the presence of the body prior to burial, which is positioned so that the face of the deceased faces Mecca. According to one account, the son of one of the hypocrites, Abd Allah ibn Ubay,
that's the one that we just covered, yeah.
Asked the prophet if he would pray over his father, and if his father should be buried using the prophet's garments as a shroud. The prophet agreed to do both, but accounts differ over whether this verse was revealed before the prayer, preventing him from performing it, or after he had already done so. Ibn Ajibah observes that when a sincere servant of God dies, all beings, including angels, jinn, and the creatures of the earth, pray for that person. But when a person is distant from God, that body and spirit are spurned by all. This question is further discussed in verses 113 through 115.
Interesting. Okay, so this, never offer prayers for any one of them who dies nor stand by his grave. So this does seem like it refers to a specific set of burial rituals that Muslims were doing at the time. Mm-hmm. So, like, it kind of bouncing off of what was said in, what was it, verse 80, right? Where, because he was asking for forgiveness, right? So it's not like you can ask for forgiveness, but
you can't pray for them either.
Right, yeah. Well,
at this funeral, right?
Right, yeah, at this funeral, right. So,
well, there's no point in it.
Right, yeah. However, from what has been described to me, like, since the final decision for, who goes to heaven, who goes to hell is like God, right? They're never going to tell you that, like, oh, you will go to heaven or you will go to hell. Or they shouldn't be, because every single time I talk to them about it, at least my Muslim friends, they're like, hey, it's all up to God in the end, right? I can't make that decision. Mm-hmm. So, like, even if their texts tell them that person X will go to hell, God could still change his mind.
Now, let me give you a hypothetical.
Sure.
About this hypocrite situation.
Okay.
Let's say that you're a Jew.
Okay.
And that you're a believer in Judaism. And then you leave Judaism. Then you're an atheist.
Okay.
Then you join Islam.
Okay.
Then you leave Islam. Should you be put to death at this point?
Probably not.
Now, you rejoin Islam and then you leave Islam.
Oh, probably.
Well, I wonder because
He had rules.
Moral hot takes on Milwaukee
I
atheists.
imagine it would be different if you're like a pagan and then you become an atheist and then you become Muslim and then you become an atheist.
Oh, right.
Because you are rejecting the same God.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
If you were starting as a Jew.
But the thing is, you could also say like because they have this belief that like this modern form of Judaism has been like corrupted, right? Mm-hmm. They could say like, oh, well, it's not actually the same one, even though it kind of is.
I just wonder, like, are there any legal cases that ever occurred where like they tried to impose this punishment on people? Like, how has this actually played out? I've heard of governments using this material for stuff. But how does this specific apostasy material play out?
I have absolutely no clue, but that's a good question.
We should look into it. We should make a video about like apostasy laws and their interpretations historically.
Oh boy.
But anyways, that's about halfway through the reading of the day. I'm going to use the restroom.
Wow.
Why don't you give them a from our thematic commentary.
A reading from our thematic commentary.
You never do that, and then I won't miss out on anything.
Right? Yeah, that's
I'll be
fair.
right back.
I should probably go to the section then. It's been a while since we used this thing. I was here earlier today, so I definitely could have done it. But then we were watching public freakouts
and fights.
And fights. Yeah.
More important.
Yeah, after we set up everything, we're just kind of watching trash.
Yeah, that's life.
Yeah. Well, though we were waiting for Ruben to show up. He was late.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so I think Ruben finished. What verse was it? Was it 85?
Like that.
Yeah, 85 sounds right. Yeah. Yeah, 85 sounds right. But I currently am not seeing any thematic commentary on those verses. At least nothing we didn't cover. I'm seeing references to the burial practices, but we kind of already went over them. So I'm just going to continue reading. So sucks for him if he misses it. So I'm going to go with verse 86. When a surah is sent down declaring, have faith in God and wage jihad along with his apostle, the affluent among them ask you for leave and say, let us remain with those who sit back. Right, the people who are just condemned, which I guess makes sense. But this issue of waging the jihad, right? Because to my understanding, jihad meaning struggle. I think, in fact, earlier it was translated as it was earlier in this chapter. I think it was probably at the very beginning of our readings today too, or almost at the beginning. Yeah, in verse 33, "O prophet, wage jihad," and I think this was 73. Let's see how that was translated. At least in some other ones, it looks like, yeah, strive hard. Yeah, strive hard against, which is how it was understood previously. So, whenever a surah is sent down, Then it says, have faith in God and I guess strive with his apostle, or contend with him. The affluent among them ask you for leave and say, let us remain with those who sit back. They are pleased to be with those who stay back, and their hearts have been sealed, so they do not understand. This is, I don't know if this actually is reflected in Arabic, but it uses the passive. It says that their hearts have been sealed. Not that they sealed their hearts, but that their hearts have been sealed.
Like
and I wonder if
how the Pharaoh's soul was sealed in the Millennium Puzzle.
Yes.
Whoa.
And I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh earlier today.
Wow. Did you see the thing I posted in I think it was in the memes channel?
Oh, I don't know if I did.
Oh man, there was a Yu-Gi-Oh themed like shower gel and soap and deodorant pack
That sounds pretty dope. I'll get it.
It was like Dirt Duelist.
Wow, okay. But the thing is, you were kind of, right with Pharaoh there, right? His where God specifically hardened his heart. And we've had this a bunch of times in the Quran where God is very obviously controlling people. So what I wonder if this shows up in the Arabic too, that when their hearts were sealed, that isn't implying that.
Well, just
God
think
sealed
about how diabolical this kind of rhetoric actually is, because this is imagine your baby Lawrence, who is Muslim Lawrence, baby Muslim Lawrence.
Okay.
And you're arguing with someone in your school who is, let's say, an atheist whose name is I don't know, Dallas or something. And
let's say hypothetically,
let's just say little baby Muslim Lawrence is arguing with Dallas, who's an atheist.
Okay.
And atheist Dallas keeps on making all these legitimate points. And little baby Muslim Lawrence goes to his imam and is like, look, why does Dallas, the atheist, not accept that God exists? And the imam tells little baby Lawrence, the Muslim kid, that the reason is because God is preventing atheist Dallas from believing.
If that were the case,
you just shouldn't question it.
That would be a reason to just stop trying at that point, right?
Yeah. So you shouldn't even have the conversation,
right? Yeah.
And as a consequence, you shouldn't ever question your faith.
Also, yes, yeah.
Oh wow, we learned a lot today.
Either way, I'm going to continue now with verse 88. But the apostle and the faithful who are with him wage jihad with their possessions and persons, and to such belong all the blessings, and it is they who are the felicitous. God has prepared for them gardens with streams running in them to remain in them forever. That is the great success. So yeah, that was 88 and 89, but it doesn't really seem like. I mean, we've talked about this, the streams of paradise before.
This has been consistent.
Yeah. So I'll continue on with verse 90.
Do it.
Some of the Bedouins who sought to be excused came so that they may be granted leave to stay back. He was asking just some of the people that I think Bedouins are nomadic, right? Pretty sure. I think so.
I don't know that
we
much
talked about
the
them,
Bedouins,
you and me,
but
outside of this at some point. I think you mentioned them.
Yeah, I think they're nomadic. I could be
think.
wrong. maybe semi-nomadic. But either way, yeah, some of the Bedouins who sought to be excused came so that they may be granted leave to stay back, obviously from the battle, while those who lied to God and his apostles sat back. Soon a painful punishment will visit the faithless among them. Bedouins here is a translation of al-Arab. Oh, the Arabs. Okay. The meaning seems to follow from the use in various Semitic languages of the root Arab to refer to, or it would just be like RB, right? As just the root. To refer to nomads or dwellers of the wilderness, and not only to Arabs or Arabic speakers. In the Hebrew Bible, the cognate Hebrew terms reflect this use. Arabs are simply nomads of the wilderness, and Arabia is the wilderness in which they roam. Note, for example, Ezekiel 27:21, Arabia and all the sheiks of Kedar were your customers. They paid in lambs, rams, and he-goats. And in Isaiah 13, which describes the ruins of Babylon with the remark, quote, never again will anyone live here or reside there for all generations to come. Never again will the Arab pitch his tent there, or the shepherds bring their flocks to rest. Which is interesting. I don't think I knew that about the etymology of
No, I didn't.
Arab. Interesting. But that was what, verse 90, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reference here to it. It does use the word Arab in there. Actually, it doesn't use Bedouin. It uses Arab. It goes on to say
it's Bedouin in both of these.
Okay, sure, yeah. I guess it's more. It would help for the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says here that not only had the hypocrites a nest in Medina, but their tactics affected some of the village or desert Bedouins who loved war and would have followed a standard of war even if no question of faith or a sacred curse was involved. Jesus. But some of them, though professing Islam, were frightened by the hardship of the Tabuk expedition and the prospect of meeting the trained armies of the great Roman Empire. They made all sorts of lying excuses, but really their want of faith made them ineligible for being enlisted in a sacred cause.
All right. Continue on. I have no useful commentary for verse 90.
Then I will continue. There is no blame on the weak, nor on the sick, nor on those who do not find anything to spend, so long as they are sincere to God and his apostle. There is no cause for blaming the virtuous, and God is all forgiving, all merciful.
So this refers to those who can't afford, either on their own or through another support, the minimum equipment required to participate in a campaign. Al-Razi notes that this verse does not prohibit persons without means from offering whatever support they can, only that they cannot be blamed for not doing so.
Okay, so if you actually don't have the means to not participate, it's fine, yeah. Nor is there any blame on those to whom, when they came to you to provide them with a mount, you said, I did not find any mount for you. And they turned back, their eyes flowing with tears, grieved because they did not find any means to spend. So yeah, if you could not help someone join in some way, and they're very upset about it, also no fault there. The blame lies only on those who ask your leave to stay behind, though they are well off. They are pleased to be with those who stay back. God has set a seal on their hearts. Okay, so now we've confirmed the thing from before, so that they do not know the outcome of their conduct. Well, that's just a dick.
So there's disagreement here. Some say it's the reason why those who chose to remain behind is because they have the seal.
It does say here that
although the plain sense would indicate that the seal was set on their hearts as a punishment for their choosing to stay behind. And as a result, they're reduced or even barred in their capacity for faith. So it's not clear which of these applies here.
Yeah, there's I don't really have any commentary on this. Unfortunately, that was what, verse 93?
Mm-hmm. Or 92. Or 93.
Yeah, it was 93, yeah. I guess there is something on this, and it's doing that thing again where I have no idea what it even means.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the verses. It's 10 over 30, and I think we've seen something like this before, and I'm not sure what it means.
What's the footnote?
Well, the footnote says cross-reference 987, which we actually referenced. I already called back to it. Where similar phrases are used for strike. Okay, no. If we're talking about similar phrases, yeah, I already pointed that out. But the point that I was getting to here is that in Gabriel Side Reynolds, when he says, "So they do not know," he puts in brackets the outcome of their conduct. And then in Abdul Yusuf Ali's, he says, God hath sealed their hearts, so they know not what they miss.
Mine just says, and they know not.
Right, yeah. This one also says just, and they know not.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like at least some of the translators that we're using have assumed what should go in there.
Right.
So my guess is that it doesn't actually say it.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, let's go on to verse 94.
Yes.
They will offer you excuses when you return to them. Say, do not make excuses. We will never believe you.
Wow.
God has informed us of your state of affairs. God and his apostle will observe your conduct. Then you will be returned to the knower of the sensible and the unseen, and he will inform you concerning what you used to do. So this is like kind of, very Judgment Day, and you can't hide anything from God, and apparently you can't hide anything from them either, right? Because they're gonna fine you for a little bit.
Now I want to point out something interesting about.
Well,
this
at
verse.
least Muhammad in this case.
Something very interesting. Unseen renders ghaib, referring to all that is not present to ordinary human sense perception at the present moment, either because it's far removed from us in the other space or time, i.e. in the past or will happen, or because it's intrinsically beyond physical perception, belonging to a metaphysical realm which exists at a higher level of reality or state of being. The seen renders shahada, literally witnessed or witnessing, referring to what is present to sense perception. Knower of the unseen and seen could thus be rendered knower of what is absent and what is present.
So like calling back to like the fact that they were absent.
I guess. The two terms are usually used together in the Quran and appear throughout Islamic literature. So,
all right. Let's continue on here.
Yep.
So yeah, on to 95.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When you return to them, they will swear to you by God, so that you may leave them alone. So leave them alone. They are indeed filth, and their refuge shall be hell, a requital for what they used to perpetrate. Perpetrate.
What they will swear by God to you is implicit, understood to mean that they will swear that they were unable to accompany the prophet. That you may turn away from them refers to the hypocrite's desire to not be openly blamed or to have their inner thoughts exposed. They wanted the prophet and the believers to turn away from them by way of a pardon, as reflected that you might be content with them in verse 96. But Instead, the prophet and believers turned away from the hypocrites with severity. So turn away is a command to the believers, and upon returning to Medina from Tabuk, the prophet told the believers not to speak or keep company with those who had remained behind without a valid excuse. That their defilement may mean that their actions are filthy, or that they themselves represent a kind of spiritual defilement due to their inner state.
There is a very interesting comment here. It is related that on his return from Tabuk, the Holy Prophet forbade the Muslims to have any intercourse with the hypocrites. This injunction was in obedience to the revelation which he had received during the journey, as is clearly shown in verses 83 and 84. So that was a note on verse 95. So there you go.
Yep. Continue with verse 96.
They swear to you that you may be reconciled to them. But even if you are reconciled to them, God will not be reconciled to the transgressing lot. The Bedouins are more obdurate in unfaith and hypocrisy, and more apt to be ignorant of the precepts that God has sent down to his apostle, and God is all-knowing, all-wise.
So the Bedouins here, again, translates Arab.
Yeah.
Referring to nomadic Arabs as opposed to sedentary residents of the town. Here it refers specifically to the hypocrites among the former.
That makes sense. Oh yeah, he's calling these guys out.
Yeah.
Among the Bedouins are those who regard what they spend as a loss, and they watch for a reversal of your fortunes. Theirs shall be an adverse turn of fortune, and God is all-hearing, all-knowing. So this group specifically is when they are, spending money or, at least giving up some sort of service to the greater cause, they view it as like, oh, well, we just kind of volunteered. We lost money. We weren't making a profit, or we weren't... It was just a waste, right? Obviously, if you believe that you're doing the stuff for God, then that would be a terrible thing to think, because that wouldn't be a waste, right?
All I have here is that the change in fortune here renders dawa'ir.
They only become interested when you make more money.
The change of fortune, dawa'ir, singular, da'ira, whose lexical root evokes the sense of a circle or circuit. That is, they wait, hoping the good fortune of the believers will encircle around and become bad again. Evil here, as elsewhere, renders not only what is morally evil, but also anything that's harmful or causes suffering.
I see, okay.
Which I guess Sam Harris would just say is what is morally evil, right?
Mm. That's true. Okay, I'll continue on, and I think I'm on verse 99.
Mm-hmm.
Yet among the Bedouins are also those who believe in God and the last day, and regard what they spend as a means of attaining nearness to God and the blessings of the apostle. Now it shall indeed bring them nearness, and God will admit them into his mercy. God is indeed all forgiving, all merciful.
I have a better translation.
Oh, okay.
And among the Bedouin are those who believe in God in the last day, and regard that which they spend as a means to attain nearness unto God and the blessings of the messenger. Behold!
Behold!
Oh, behold, that's nice.
Yeah, it shall surely be nearness for them. God will cause them to enter his mercy. Truly, God is forgiving, merciful.
You're right. That was a better translation.
Yeah,
So,
and by the way,
they describe here spending in the way of God as a means of attaining nearness to God, while other verses deny the efficacy of less sincere attempts at attaining nearness to him.
by the way, I think that I might turn the current commentary and translation I'm working on into the Behold translation and commentary.
Oh, you should definitely utilize Behold
I
in
am.
every instance.
It's everywhere so far. Every single time there is
Look.
No, I didn't want to overdo it because it would sound ridiculous. But
Yes. It should sound ridiculous.
Okay.
And
Okay.
behold, when you do behold and behold
Beholding.
upon the beholders,
Behold.
those who behold you, beholding them.
The thing is, there's a verse that you could do that with. Here, hold on. I actually was just translating this the other day. Yeah, sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. So this is in
Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
okay. So I think it is in is it in verse or chapter? I know it's I think it's just before the parables. And I remember that that Jesus is quoting someone, but I forget who he is quoting. I think he's quoting Isaiah is my guess, because they're always quoting Isaiah. Damn, can't find it. But it's absolutely somewhere in here. But there is a verse that says, like, by a hearing hold on, what was it? Okay. So yeah, this is the ESV, so it's not a great translation. But the
What
this
verse is it?
I think it is, I'm pretty sure it's 13:14, and it's the beginning of the poem. Although there is a little note here actually about that. Where was it?
Hearing
Isaiah
you will
6:9.
hear and shall not understand, and seeing you will see and not perceive.
Yes, so the that's actually not that bad. But the it uses
the New King James Version
C-
isn't that bad.
this well, I mean, at least compared to the ESV for on that specific verse.
Oh,
yeah.
the New King James Version is better than the ESV.
On that specific verse, yes. So the it uses uses two different words for like seeing, and I could theoretically translate that as like but beholding you will behold but will not behold. I could do that. But and that sounds insane.
You
right?
should do that.
I should do that.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Okay, so there are two different words that are used for that, right? The first two are the same one, which actually just means look at, like if you look at something. The other one, horao, would be like, it's still seeing, but it's also you can carry a connotation of understanding as well. Like, do you see what I mean?
No.
The thing is, you did though.
But you would
I
use
see
the
what you
same
mean.
term both times. So just say behold.
Okay.
Doth thou behold my meaning?
See.
Forsooth, thou sayest
But
so.
either way, I think it would be. I am using plenty of beholds, but I still want it to be a comprehensible translation.
You should have a B on the cover. The behold translation.
Sure, yeah.
And commentary.
Which
Which maximizes accurate uses of behold. Look, nobody's ever done it.
sure, yeah.
You could produce many, many meme-worthy translations of Matthew, I'm sure, by just emphasizing certain
Uses of behold and vision.
or any term.
So any single time there's so instead of saying to see, I would say to behold.
Mhm.
I have to. Oh my god. Okay.
Or to look.
Right.
To
That's
behold.
insane. That is insane. That would be very funny.
Looked,
Maybe.
beheld.
Okay. Maybe I'll create two. I'll make like a real translation that's actually useful.
Use besought as well.
Besot.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
That just sounds wrong, Ruben.
Yeah.
Maybe I should continue the reading.
Is it
I mean,
over?
there's like one
No.
verse,
Oh,
right?
come on.
There's one verse. So on to verse 100. The early vanguard of the emigrants and the helpers and those who followed them in virtue. God is pleased with them, and they are pleased with him. And he has prepared for them gardens with streams running in them to remain in them forever. That is a great success.
So this is people who are of the highest virtue and spiritual attainment, who have a special place in the hereafter. Commentators who specify the group to which the present verse refers understand it, however, to mean those who pledged allegiance to the prophet after the signing of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, or those who prayed in both directions of prayer, meaning very early Muslims who prayed facing Jerusalem before the Qibla was changed to Mecca, or those who participated in the Battle of Badr. In all such cases, it refers to those who were with the prophet when it brought no foreseeable material benefit. The Sabiqun is also a term used by Sufis who mean those who follow the spiritual path to God and who are contrasted with both ordinary believers and disbelievers.
Okay, so we have two very important groups here. The people who left with them, like the first generation of Muslims, and the people who were converted while they were over there, right? And did you mention? I don't think you mentioned the Ansar, right? Ansar and Muhájjirín.
I didn't use those terms.
Okay, yeah. The first historical examples are the Muhájjirín and the Ansar. The Muhájjirín, those who forsook their homes in Mecca and migrated to Medina. The Holy Apostle, being among the last to leave the post of danger, are mentioned first. Then come the Ansar, the helpers, the citizens of Medina who invited them, welcomed them and gave them aid, and who formed the pivot of the new community. Then are mentioned all who follow them in good deeds, not only the early heroes and ordinary men and women who had been companions of the apostle or had seen him, but men and women in all ages who have lived noble lives. Talks about them, getting all these gifts at the end of their lives. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's the word. So the word that's used for helpers in this verse is muhajirin, meaning literally one who flees from or forsakes his home. And ansar is plural of nasir, meaning one who helps. Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And that is the end of the reading for today. Hey, everyone, check out our Patreon and our Amazon wishlist and our Teespring and our Discord and all of the other links in the description.
All of the links in the description.
So what did you learn today, Lawrence?
I learned that sparkling ice makes some pretty good lemonade.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Incredible.
Good learn.
Yeah. Thank you all.
We're not sponsored, but we would like to be.
Listen, if
Sparkling ice.
this is pretty dope, yeah.
Yeah, hook us up.
But I'll also take a Mountain Dew sponsorship.
You can't even, whatever.
We would take any sponsorship.
No,
really.
probably
No.
not. No, probably
What
not.
wouldn't you take?
Anything that's like really fucked up.
The anti-Semitic haters group.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
pretty bad.
Yeah, we're gonna get the anti-Semitic. Are we gonna get sponsored by Hamas?
Oh my god.
What's happening?
No.
No. I don't.
I don't think they'd like us very
No.
much.
No, probably not. I don't see it happening.
No.
Oh, man.
Either way.
Yeah.
That's the show for today before we completely go off the rails. Thank you for joining us. Do all the stuff that Ruben said, because if you don't listen to everything that Ruben just told you to do,
We will collectively all beat you up.
yes, except for me, I never do any
I
of those
didn't
bad
say
things.
anything like that. That seems like something that Chris is just committed to.
Well, it's like, that one Pokemon move?
Mhm.
Yes.
Everybody jumps out and gets them.
They don't have a choice.
That's right.
You know, Pokemon.
You say you're going to be passive, and then
If one of those Pokemon is wearing like a Rocky helmet, do they take extra damage?
Look, Lawrence,
what?
do you approve of dog fighting?
no, we got to end this. All
Yeah,
right.
let's end it. Yeah. Good call, Chris.
So how can you approve of Pokemon,
Anyways,
which is just
0%.
digital dog
We will
fighting?
see you on Wednesday
Wednesday.
without any dog fighting.
None. Goodbye.